there is a whole kind of concept on what you need to focus on when it comes to form design. Typically nowadays, I exclusively use multi-step forms, but I'm also in the mindset of, hey, if it's worked for this long, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, I'm Ed Leake. I'm here with Sam O'Bra from Atomic Marketing, and he's also our landing page guru inside God Tier Alpha, the lead gen alpha community. Today, we're going to be talking about, well, Sam is, he's going to be doing the smart bit. I'll just contribute some noise. We're going to talk about best practices for landing pages, why they don't work, and what actually works today and is performing right now. Hello, Sam.
Okay, so I'm excited to run some stuff. And I think a good starting point for us to begin with would be the checklist that we have. It's a pretty extensive checklist that we developed together. And it really covers pretty much everything you need to know about building a landing page, what sections you need, what you need to include, what's important in terms of different levels of importance as well. While you could go on for ages on this checklist, and it pretty much does, we will focus on a few key things that I feel are most important in terms of the fundamentals of getting a landing page that can work for you right now.
It's Sam's work with my input, and it's 93 steps long, which is a lot, how to essentially create and optimize the ultimate landing page. It's part of God Tier Ads. You can buy it separately. It's a bonus inside God Tier Ads, but we'll share some elements of it in this video and many videos to come. But yes, let's jump in.
Welcome to the start of the checklist. As you can see, we've got a section about foundations, and these are really just the core things that you should have in place before launching your page, such as mobile responsiveness. And many of these are so obvious and basic, but it's always good to run through them, because what you'll find, and me included, I don't often retest my page load speed. Sometimes I speak with a lot of people and they don't test their landing page load speeds. They have great looking pages, but they load really slowly. And that is one of the key contributors to people clicking the back button and not giving the page a chance. So you could have the best page in the world, but if it's loading slow and the rendering of the images is taking ages, then it's not going to put you in an ideal position. And so we've got a bunch of different things included in this general housekeeping section. And we've got above the fold content, clear messaging in the hero section. And we go into a lot more depth on these as we go down section by section on all the key elements that we need to include within the landing page. But these really are the things that you need to be looking at just in terms of you've published the page, run through these things in general housekeeping and make sure you're all okay to then start sending traffic to your landing page. Any of these jump out to you, Ed, from your experience?
The mobile responsiveness, just check your pages after you've made changes to them, because it's the simplest thing you can do is make changes and update a landing page and then forget to actually recheck how that looks in mobile. Page load speed is the obvious one, but we kind of farm that out now, don't we? If you use something like Unbounce, then it's down to them and it's down to your landing page provider to provide the performance. And generally, most of them are good. I think where you see issues or can see issues is WordPress, depending on how bloated the WordPress install is with 50 gazillion plugins, and just people not using CDN. So you can get, is it Cloudflare? I can't remember the name, but it's like $5 a month and you can get distributed website content, which dramatically improves the speed of your website. So if you're self-hosting a landing page like WordPress, just use a CDN. They are so cheap to bumping page speed, and it makes such a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think as well, and I've put this particular one in here, production quality and professionalism. I think there are a lot of ugly pages that convert really well, but for pages to really perform well, I like this checklist item here, because there does need to be a certain level of professionalism. And it's one of the hardest things to measure in terms of a landing page, because when you run like 5-second tests and ask people certain questions, such as like, would you move forward with this company, for example? And when they don't quite trust the page, that can often come down to the fact that the page just doesn't feel professional or trustworthy enough. And it's something that a lot of people can't really communicate because it's down to the design. And when the design doesn't look conventional to typical sort of what websites and landing pages should look like, or if like the design looks slightly off, or the icons are kind of like out of whack in terms of alignments with text, it is these small details that can really play a big part in terms of whether people feel that you can trust the page or not. But as you go down, this checklist is pretty extensive. We've got everything marked in terms of priority, in terms of like how important this is. So we have these preset to optional, normal, and high in terms of how you should prioritize all these different things. And
it's our 80-20, isn't it?
Exactly that. So not you don't have to kind of go through absolutely everything. There are certain things that you'll see like within the hero section, which of course they should be our priority high, but then as you come down the page, there's a lot of normal stuff. And these are just kind of like the bonus extras that would be, give you a little bit of a boost when it comes to improving your landing page and ultimately your conversion rates. But where we should focus today for the topic of this video is what really makes a good landing page. And it really does begin in the hero section, as that will include what the landing page is about, and is about capturing people's attention and interest within that first 5 seconds. So what I'm going to do now is show a real life example from one of our agency clients' landing pages. This is a page we designed probably 7 or 8 years ago and has consistently performed extremely well. So here you can see the landing page. Hopefully it's very clear what they do within the first 5 seconds. And I'm going to break down exactly what we have done on this page and also reveal what landing page framework we use to do this page. And the one thing about frameworks or landing page frameworks is that you can't just apply them to every single niche or every single business. Every business is going to be different. Their prospects are going to have different challenges. And so you really need to understand how to apply certain frameworks and understand what sections within landing page frameworks you need for the particular business. In this case, we're talking van lock installation. So our audience here are trades business owners who drive vans, and they want to protect the contents of their vans. With vans, when you buy them new or you're leasing them, they typically come with a certain level of security, and they're quite easy to break into, which is weird, as you'd think the manufacturers would kind of like build something a little bit more robust to protect the contents. But anyway, there is a whole market around improving your van security. And this is what this whole page is about. So immediately what we want to do within the first 5 seconds is establish clarity. What is the page about? Who are we targeting? Up here, you can see we've got our conventional logo in the top left. We've got our CTA phone number in the top right. And then what I like to do is include all of our key benefit points either below the navigation, or sometimes I will stick them right below the hero. And this is just so it doesn't overcrowd the contents of the hero. Sometimes I will put them in the hero. There's no set rule, but this is one of the, I suppose, signature designs that I like to use, and I've seen a lot of people use it from when I started posting more on YouTube. As we come down, we've got the eyebrow text, and this is really the first bit of text that we introduce in the hero section. And this is really just calling out who the audience is, so van owners of West Yorkshire. And you can do this using any kind of, whoever that audience is. It could be homeowners of location name. It could just be straight up homeowners. And this is great here because sometimes what you don't want to do is try and call that person out in the headline too much, because it can just make the headline drag on. So you can see if we tried to like include this all directly within the headline itself, it's just going to make it really long and cumbersome, whereas it's already pretty long at the moment. Then as we come down, we've got the hero headline: van lock installation that secures your van, your tools, and protects your livelihood. So it's a very clear value proposition and explains exactly what they do, and also gives some kind of emotional response or evokes some emotion to the reader, because what we're saying here is it's going to protect your livelihood, which is the goal of it. That's the goal, the whole goal of getting these van locks installed. Then we've got our subheading, which is really just to continue the process of educating the person of like how we do this, or what's kind of like how we continue from that headline into explaining a bit more information and context to it. So find out what locks and security your van needs to keep you sleeping peacefully, knowing your van is fully secure and you'll wake up to earn an honest day's work. And these are all kind of copywriting that we did years ago based on research in forums, Facebook groups, and kind of really truly understanding what is important to this audience. And then we've just got a very conventional get your instant free quote, which you click here, it will bring up a pop-up box, and then we ask a few qualification questions. And this has always worked. And you can see here, like I'll dive into this in a moment, but there is a whole kind of concept on what you need to focus on when it comes to form design. Typically nowadays, I exclusively use multi-step forms, but I'm also in the mindset of, hey, if it's worked for this long, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So gives you a bit of idea there, but there's a whole kind of mentality of how you should approach form design, and especially multi-step forms.
Sorry, Sam, what's the conversion rate on this page, do you know?
I believe it's around 15%.
Yeah, and consistently 15%.
Consistently 15%, and we're using broad match keywords as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And
so essentially, you're operating in easy mode now.
Oh yeah, it's fully matured after the 7 years, and it always works, which is the great thing. And it's a great example to show. As we come to the right-hand side of the page, we've got a really simple hero image, just showing the installation and the actual installed new locks, because the vans don't come with this. It just adds that additional level of security. We have the picture of the installer putting it on. So it's super clear. And this audience knows what they're looking for, because they're either searching for a particular type of lock, which sometimes it can be product searches that hit this page as well. So I'm sure if we were able to exclude all product-based searches, the conversion rate would be even higher. But with Google, we're kind of happy with our KPIs at the moment, and there's not really anything you can do to get the same level of volume and ensure the target audience is exactly who they need to be. And then as we come down the page, we have to also now consider what sections do we need. And this is the thing for all different landing pages that people are designing. It's like, I see the number one thing where people get stuck is what sections do I need? And the annoying answer is yes, it does depend, but there are a few key sections that every landing page will need. And that is going to be a hero section. It's going to be social proof. And you can see I'm not using this in any particular order. I always build a page based on what I feel is logical in terms of the structure. And normally I would include more social proof up here, but it's been so long, I don't think I realized social proof was a thing at the time, 7 years ago, and it's still performing quite well. So that's the reason why I'm not changing anything. But with Google, it's a little bit different to Facebook ads when it comes to landing pages, as typically what you'll find with Google, they already know what they're looking for. And so you have to show them exactly what they're looking for. So rather than kind of giving the reason of why you should have these different products installed, which we include later down, here we are just listing all the different things, because I know from the search terms within Google Ads, people are searching for deadlocks, slam locks, armor plates, surface mounted deadlocks, high key locks. So what do? I want to make sure that this is covered pretty early on in our design. And right above that, we've just showed the key kind of van manufacturers that they typically work with. And these are all the kind of main ones here in the UK. And then you've got additional kind of services as well. So I'd say this is more like a conventional services section. So if we head back to the checklist, you can see here, like in terms of the hero section, we can check off, we've got the main headline, yes, we've got a subheading, benefit points, we actually put those right below the nav, so we'd mark that off as yes, hero image or video. And this is cool because it makes you think, hey, maybe a video showcasing the installation might actually perform better. Again, we've just ran this image for so long and it's worked for so long that I'm not changing it, because sometimes if you're too focused on testing loads of things and you just don't appreciate what you have, which is actually working right now and it's hitting the KPIs. So, you know, don't try to be a master landing page tester if you know everything is actually okay. I don't know, Ed, what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, so there's two things, and I love, just pop back to the page a second. So simple, this section, but I love it because you've extracted the search intent and you've included them here. So like deadlocks, armor plates, slam locks, high key locks, surface mount deadlocks, all the stuff that people are searching for which is appropriate to this service, and you've included them in the visual here. And it's something so simple to overlook. And it's not keyword stuffing or any nonsense like that. You are literally calling out these different search intents that are all relevant. And I love that. It's simple, but really effective. And you know, you can easily overlook this. Now, in terms of testing, we're all guilty of this. So you've had this client for 7 years. That client is obviously very happy, and this is working for them. And they're getting high conversion rate, cost per lead way under what they need it to be profitable. So everyone's happy, and that stability is a good thing. The problem is introducing a test will upset stability. It could be positive or negative as well. You could do a video with them, put that in the hero section, and it flop, like most videos in the hero section. I don't know why the screen just switched us around. So videos are not always effective, and it's how comfortable the client is and the relationship is to say, look, this is going really well. Do you need more? Because that client, by the looks of it, it's got a mobile number in the UK. So he's probably a solo business owner, is he?
Yeah.
So if you're keeping him busy, he's more than likely going to say, don't rock the car. I'm happy. It's performing well. However, if he got bigger and he's like, right, I've got another guy on now, I need more work, you might be tempted to go, right, let's try some new things with the page. Let's bring some case studies up to the fore and move that social proof higher or produce a video. But the thing with the visuals, that service page, I can see why it converts so well. The visual, perfect. If you own a van, and I've owned a van for nefarious reasons, but if you've ever owned a van, you know that they are made, the locks are pathetic. And Sam, you called it out. It's like, it's the most weird thing. These vans are made for workmen and they don't protect their tools. It's crazy, and tools cost a fortune. The visual of these heavy deadlocks and the guy installing the driver side and passenger side, I can't remember what you call them, the flush lock, like immediately. It's like, that's what it is. And comparing, and the guy who's got a van knows what the lock looks like. They know how weak they are. So that immediately seeing that installation is like, bing, it's what I need. It's what I want. So I can see why that page works really well. And then you did the research to call out, sleep at night, protect your investment, protect your honest day's work, because that's what these people consider, you know, a tradesman's doing an honest day's work. It's an old saying. It's like, I'm out for an honest day's work.
Well, if you like this section, you're going to like where we go with it even further down.
Okay. So would I test? It depends. And I think in this situation, unless this chap who owns this company says, right, Sam, we've just doubled, I've got another guy working for me, then I might consider testing. But to be honest with you, the easiest thing for you guys to do would be to bump the budget. which could be a test into itself. You know, a change of budget, dramatic change, is a test into itself. So sometimes these pages just rock and roll for so long that you don't need to be fiddling. Same with Google Ads. You don't need to fiddle if it's working. So yeah, it's a depends. An annoying answer.
I completely agree. And often, like when I think about introducing tests, whether that's to Google Ads or even with landing pages, like you said, it can just introduce a test that isn't necessarily going to be beneficial. And over the course of that test, you actually get less leads. It works as like a double-edged sword. And usually, depending on what you're testing, I find it, when you found like a winning formula, just kind of stick with it and find other ways to kind of improve it. As we come down the rest of the page, so you can kind of see here, we've got our navigation, which I do include as a section. I think it's really important that you utilize the navigation. We've got the kind of short benefit points up here, right below that. We've got the hero section. We've got I suppose this would be relevant to kind of, not necessarily social proof or accreditations, but just kind of like the major brands that they install with, and gives people a feeling of, oh yeah, they do it for Ford, they do it for Mercedes, whatever it is. We do it a service overview, which is important for a Google-based campaign or Google Ads-based campaign. And then we come down to the benefit section. And this is typical, I would say, on most landing pages. Maybe like 95% of typical landing pages will include something called a benefit section. And this is where you always see that saying, features sell, features tell, benefits sell. And this is very much the case here, where, and we've been very careful with the type of copy that we've been using on the page, but you can see here, you've invested thousands on your van and tools, take action and invest in safeguarding your most valuable business assets. So it's really important as well that you consider the copy around the different sections and how to effectively use the sections, because people know, like, yeah, I'm going to get increased security, of course. Like they know this sort of thing. This is going to be harder to break into. But using copy, this is where you can now be quite clever with it. So instead of just saying like, make it harder to break into, we're saying double your van security lock power. That's one. And then we've got a little bit of copy below that. But like the key things we're trying to highlight here are these titles and some light images in the background to kind of showcase that. The best insurance is an intimidating deterrent. So you can see what we've got here is thieves pick easy targets. Your van will not be one of them. They'll be intimidated by the presence of deadlocks and will move on quickly to find an easier van. And then ultimately, it's peace of mind knowing your van is covered. So we want to include that as a key point too. Knowing your van is safe and guarded at the highest level lets you sleep easy, knowing your van and tools will be ready for you tomorrow morning. So everything in this page has been very well considered, down to all the specific pain points that these business owners have. And now as we come down the page, this is very typical of what we call a problem, agitate, solve framework. And I mention this now, it doesn't necessarily apply to every single type of landing page. And I say this one all the time to the members in Alpha. You can't apply this framework to something like rubbish removal, because at the end of the day, like, they just want a pissed on mattress to be taken away from their house. Like, we're not looking to agitate a further problem of having all this junk out in the front yards and how great it's going to feel when it's removed. Like, sometimes it just doesn't apply very well, and you've got to stick to a more conventional framework. But if we dive back into what I'm explaining here, this is a very good example where it works. So this, of course, is the problem section of that framework. So you can see our van had been done, never again. And for all the people watching in the UK, you probably know that getting done is like, you know, I don't know, Ed, how would you describe that? You know what it means, right?
Getting done over. Yeah, getting screwed, getting essentially. Yeah. So this section, I'll let you continue, but if I was to test, I've already got a test that I would run on this section, and I would move this higher up. But before you would test this, you'd need to see the scroll map to see if people come down, how many people come down this far. But yeah, so this this is annoying me, seeing scumbags ripping vans apart to nick people's stuff. So I'm not even a tradesman. So if I'm a tradesman sat there and I've just spent £5,000 on all my new tools and I'm looking at these pictures, I'm seething. I literally want to get these blokes and cut their hands off. You know, this is seething. You hate it. And you hear stories about this, and it's rife. You know, all these scumbags running around nicking people's stuff who are, you know,
that's exactly how people in these Facebook groups and forums refer to these people.
And it's know your audience. Exactly. Know your audience. So this is why, and because I know this audience, I would lean in with the test, calling out, like literally calling them scumbags. And I would put some CCTV video footage on here showing a quick snip of a van getting broken into, like really agitate it. And I know it's horrible, but really agitate it. Stick the knife in. Oh, so that's a horrible metaphor. But because then if you're a tradesman, you come here and you see that happening, you'll be like, yeah, I need to get this sorted.
Yeah, and I think as well, when you do have something as good as this to use, where it makes sense to use a framework like Pain-Agitate-Solve, this does exactly that. Like you said, it does make you see, if you see these threatening CCTV images of vans being broken into, you can see the door of that middle one's just been peeled right open. And like how we then agitate that is by calling these things out with the red dot, which kind of look like a bit of a kind of important alert. Your livelihood has been taken from you. The police are doing little to nothing to help, dealing with the stress of insurance companies. Like these are all the key problems that we researched years ago that is still very much true today. And I think if you do your research well and you're able to put it into a landing page design that just works and it makes you feel a certain way, then it will last you for a very long time and perform very, very well for you.
You can use ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, etc., Gemini, blah, 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 to do this research for you. But I would say you are missing out if you only rely on them. You need to get into these forums, Facebook groups, and so on to see how these people actually speak and what they're up to, which the AI doesn't do. Yes, speed it up using AI, but do go that extra mile to actually have a look yourself, because it pays dividends. Like this page is literally paid out for 7 years. That's how good it is.
Absolutely. Just because doing the research up front, and this was before anything like ChatGPT even existed. And
if you're not a copywriter, it makes it so much easier to write. If you know the audience, if you know the pain points, if you know the issues, it makes it so much easier to write. And if you're that bad, like struggle with copywriting, then you could get GPT or one of the others to write your research for you. Yeah, but I would still do a lot of, some manual process.
And it's important as well, because if you're solely relying on what ChatGPT spits out and you don't truly understand it yourself, then you're never going to be able to critically look at the output of what it's giving you to then decide, hey, is that something we should test in the hero, or how important is that?
Do my keywords make sense? Do my ads make sense? This is what separates a PPC manager from a really good PPC manager. These extra steps. So there's one thing setting up a Google Ads account and doing Google Ads. These extra steps elevate you massively to like literally top 1% stuff. We can all do it.
So as we come down to this next section, so we've kind of introduced the problem here, agitated it, which it can be within the same section. There's no set rules if you need an agitation section of the page, but you can see that kind of covers the P and the A element of that framework. And then it's solve. How do we solve it? And this is our core kind of offer. I mean, the core offer is essentially the instant free quote, but what we introduce here is your free van security assessment. And then here is how we're going to solve that problem that we just saw there. How to safeguard your specific van's models, weak spots, and break-in points. A comprehensive breakdown of van lock installation options, recommendations, and no obligation pricing. Most common and advanced thief tactics, and what you need to do to have saying, this van's not for me, which is kind of what we've seen and picked out from the forums of, what people are saying or what the thieves say. and they want to just pass on by a van which looks way too armored up to even bother with, because they don't have much time to break into these vans. They're at risk of getting caught. And like we mentioned above here, the best insurance is an intimidating deterrent. So that really ties in nicely of what this core offer is. And if we wanted to test, we could change this to get a free van security assessment. But at the end of the day, I know that these tradespeople, they want to know how much it's going to cost. Like they're pretty set on getting this. They're not too fussed for the van security assessment. They just want like an understanding of what the installation cost is going to be. And then to cap off the rest of the page, we've got a section here which shows he's an authorized and accredited installer of all these different products. We've got some social proof down here at the end, which have included some aggregated ratings for, and then a final CTA section with protect your van is your most important asset. So we don't reveal any specific prices on this page. It really depends what people are looking for, but I thought this would just be a really good example of how you can apply a landing page framework such as problem, agitate, solve, and develop a very compelling looking page that can work for you for a very long time.
So this has just come to me. A test idea for me would be a picture of a Mad Max vehicle. Like, your van doesn't have to look like this, because you said armored up. So you don't, but armored up to the teeth. You know, you don't want like it to look like a tank and be.
No, these guys want a nice, like, wrapped vehicle with their branding design on. They're very conscious of how their vans look.
So immediately that review is also a pushback. That's a reason why someone would leave, because they think it might look ugly. So you could literally do a call out of that, how neat it looks with that testimonial, the Mad Max van, and then actual, here's a neat little installation of the deadlock system and what have you. So that's just
before and after sliders could be a good way to visualize that.
Yeah, so it's really very visual, and also the whole Mad Max thing of it being one extreme to the other. So that's another test idea that just came to me.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. It's a really good idea. Not that we will test it because it's going well. But that, yeah, absolutely. By reviewing pages that even have performed well and you've not come back to them in terms of like a critical review in a long time, you can start to really pick out stuff like Ed mentioned there, of what stuff that you could potentially start testing and seeing where you can improve it. What's more important to people? Is it the visual aspect? Is it the security? Is it a combination of both that we perhaps need to try and make more apparent in the hero image, for example? I'd say that kind of concludes how we've used like the problem, agitate, solve framework for that particular landing page. But if we come back to this checklist here, it really does go through all the different possible sections that you could use on a page. I mean, this form design here, this is a pretty large section, really important, because you can get someone to engage completely with the page. Like, you can get someone to engage with the landing page. You know, they get all the way through to the process at the end, and then they're trying to fill in the form. But if you've got certain things within the form which are just holding people back from converting, then it's important to actually really analyze and look at your form, because sometimes it's not the page, it's your form. And I actually did publish a recent video on that. And the more analytics you can have with form completion rates and analytics, the better you can optimize the last most important phase of conversion.
I think we should ask people who are watching this video to leave a comment if they'd like us to do follow-up videos working through the whole checklist. Essentially, you can get this checklist inside God Tier Alpha and God Tier Ads. So, but yeah, if you've enjoyed this and you want more, please do leave a comment, like, and subscribe, as they say. But yes, leave a comment, let us know, and we can do some follow-ups and work through the list, because I always learn from these calls with you, Sam. It even brings ideas to the idea I just have. It just brings ideas to the fore, because you're bouncing ideas around, seeing your work, and then thinking about it. It's I do always find it interesting.
Absolutely. And if anyone watching does like, or is a aficionado, or someone who enjoys designing landing pages, getting better at them, and having a bunch of other people look at it with you, then you may want to consider checking out the Lead Gen Alpha group where we do that weekly. So
every week. And it's more than that. Dale's there as well, who's your co-founder, and he's doing Google Ads calls every Tuesday. You're taking the landing page calls every Thursday. There are blueprints galore for all these different landing pages and ad campaigns. And literally, you can rock up with your problematic Google Ads account, or even a Google Ads account that's working well, and you just want a better landing page, and we will diagnose and help you do that on the call with follow-ups if needed. And the testament is the case studies for this group, like people turning up with 5% conversion rates and walking away a week later at 15, 20%, as high as 40%. And it's happening all the time. It's amazing. So if you implement what's inside God tier Lead Gen Alpha, it's a mouthful, but if you Google Lead Gen Alpha, it is the thing that comes up. Yeah, it comes up. God tier Alpha or Lead Gen Alpha. It's on the page. So apply to that if you are working with B2C service-based businesses, lead gen, not e-commerce. It's a dedicated lead gen group. So do apply to that. There will be a link in the comments. I'll pin the first comment, and the description. And yeah, do leave us a comment if you want us to do some follow-ups to this, because I think it's been pretty good.
I agree. I definitely
like the bias. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sam. Until the next time, I will see you. I'll see you on Thursday's call. But everyone else, I hope you've enjoyed. And yeah, I'll say it again. Leave a comment and like the video. Thank you very much.
Cheers, everyone.